Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're going to slow things down just a little bit. We're taking a really deliberate, contemplative journey into the balance of life's chaos and its hidden order. Because, let's be honest, we so often feel like we're just constantly reacting to a world that is shifting right under our feet. But what if there's actually an underlying structure to all that unpredictability? Well, that is exactly what we're exploring today, as we unpack a fascinating and deeply reflective poem called Maker is Constant, written by Oluyomi Oladevid. All right, let's dive right into this.
Just listen to how this kicks off. In every cycle, there are variables. On any graph, the axis is constant. It's an instant hook, isn't it? She immediately sets up this profound contrast between the changing, unpredictable elements of life, which she calls the variables, and the steady, unmoving foundations, the constants. It's a wonderfully analytical way to open a poem, kind of framing human experience almost like a mathematical equation.
Now, to really grasp where this beautifully structured poetry is coming from, we first need to understand a bit about the woman who actually wrote it. This is Oluyomi Oladevid, and as we look into her background, you're going to start seeing exactly why she approaches poetry with such a keen, analytical eye for structure and ultimate truths.
Her background honestly frames her mindset perfectly. She is Nigerian, and she actually describes herself first and foremost as someone who just flat out loves people. But her professional focus reveals even more about how her mind works. She is deeply invested in global development and transformation. Her specific skills lie in generating solutions, influencing policy and strategy, and above all else, providing clarity. Basically, she's a systems thinker. She looks at massive, incredibly complex global issues and tries to find the underlying order within them. That relentless drive to provide clarity perfectly explains why her poetry reads like this beautifully structured formula for understanding life.
But to truly understand her philosophy, we have to look at her bedrock foundation. In her bio, she writes, "My Father God owns and rules the universe. He is the wheel within my wheels." That right there is the core anchor of her entire worldview. For her, the ultimate constant in a world full of variables is her faith. When she looks at the chaotic systems of the world, she sees a divine architect behind it all. So definitely keep this concept of the wheel within my wheels in mind as we look at how she views the rest of the world.
Section 1. Life's Inevitable Variables. She begins by analyzing a stage play, showing us what's temporary. She says, in every play, there are characters. Characters come and go, right? They change costumes, they exit stage left, it's all moving. But then we see her constant. On any scene, the writer is present. Even if you don't physically see the writer standing up there on stage, their influence, their script, their ultimate intention is literally dictating everything that happens. She's brilliantly drawing our attention away from the temporary actors and pointing us toward the permanent creator pulling the strings behind the scenes.
In this next part just perfectly illustrates her ability to bring this ancient-sounding philosophy right into the modern day. She writes, in every climate, there are forecasts. We all know forecasts are, by definition, educated guesses. They change all the time, they're volatile. But then she pivots to something absolute. On any street, the GPS is certain. She's contrasting the shifting, unpredictable nature of the weather with the absolute, satellite-driven certainty of GPS directions. It's this great reminder that even when our environment feels totally unpredictable, there are navigational truths we can absolutely rely on. Then, she turns her lens to human ambition. In every contest, there are hopefuls. I mean, we've all been hopefuls at some point, haven't we? Striving, competing, totally unsure of how things are going to pan out. That is the human variable. But she measures that uncertainty against an inevitable, fixed outcome. On any stage, the victor is crowned. Regardless of who specifically takes home the prize, the structure of the contest itself demands a resolution. The crowning of a victor is the constant reality of the stage, no matter how chaotic or close the competition gets.
She wraps up this sequence by juxtaposing the players with authority. In every game, there are players. On any field, the referee is king. The players are the variables. They're out there sweating, strategizing, making mistakes. But the rules of the game, enforced by the referee, well, those are the constants. The referee represents the ultimate authority governing the boundaries of the play. So the really crucial point here is that in every single scenario she paints, she's asking us to look past the frantic activity and find the governing rule.
Section 2. The Hidden Constants. When you lay it all out like this, it shows exactly how her mind works. Drawing on that heavy background in policy and strategy, she has essentially taken abstract poetry and transformed it into a logical, repeating pattern.
In every environment, whether it's the graph, the scene, the street, or the field, there's a variable that distracts us, right? The mathematical variables, the characters, the weather forecasts, the players. But she demands that we look at the constant, the axis, the writer, the GPS, the referee. She is practically handing us a formula for finding peace in a chaotic world. Identify your environment, recognize the variable, but make sure you anchor yourself to the constant.
And that brings us to the core takeaway from her entire structure. The maker is the ultimate constant behind every variable. All of these metaphors we just went through, the writer, the GPS, the referee, the axis, they all point directly back to the title of her piece, Maker is Constant. Connecting this back to her bio, her belief in a supreme maker is the ultimate constant behind every variable we experience. She's basically telling us that nothing is truly random, as long as you know who drew the graph.
Section 3. Opting for truth and process.
So let's see how all this builds into her final directives for the reader. Because she doesn't just want us to agree with her, she wants us to apply this to our lives. Step 1. Know the source. Step 2. Opt for truth. Step 3. Know the maker. Step 4. Opt for process. It reads almost like a step-by-step strategic brief for living a grounded, intentional life.
Listen to how she delivers those directives in their original poetic cadence. Know the source. Opt for truth. Know the maker. Opt for process. She's directly challenging us to look way past the temporary variables, the changing weather, the chaotic players, the passing characters, and ground ourselves in permanent truths. By telling us to opt for process, she is reminding us to trust the ultimate constants of life, even when the immediate variables are confusing, stressful, or difficult.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a question inspired by Oluwamiyola David's profound clarity. Think about it for a second. In the cycle of your own life, amidst all the changing forecasts and shifting characters, what are your hidden constants? What is the axis on your graph? Take a moment today to find your underlying maker and opt for truth. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. Keep learning and keep looking for the constants.